Hey guys, Mrs. Gatch here. Today I'm going to show you how you can create your very own double exposure portrait. Let's go ahead and get started. So to begin with, I always like to make sure that I start off with selecting out the main subject of my portrait by using the quick selection tool. People have different tools of which they prefer to use. I just like this one. I always do suggest to my students that they pick it's easier to pick a picture or a portrait where the subject and the background have quite a bit of contrast, because let's say if I had a black background and my hair is quite dark, selecting out what I want can be a little bit difficult. I have this chosen out. I'm also going to do my select and mask really quickly just so I can get those parts between my curls. All right, this side as well. Okay, and when I feel like I have everything selected, I'm going to go ahead and go to selection and just select it out, export it out as a new layer. All right, so I've exported this out as a new layer. My next step is I am going to go down here and I'm going to add a solid color layer, and I'm going to have that color layer be white. All right, and with the color layer or the colorful layer, I would put it below your portrait. Now your next step is what you guys are going to do is bring in your landscape photo. I have had quite a few that I have downloaded, but I really like this Galaxy one. I found that it's worked well. Some tips to downloading your portrait, downloading your backgrounds: make sure that you pick a really large one, large quality, high quality, because you want to make sure that it has as much detail as possible so you can stretch and manipulate. So I'm going to go ahead and just drop that right on in here. And I like to bring down my opacity a little bit, and I'm going to bring this up actually, because now you're going to be doing a bit of work with your free transform. So zoom out a bit, Command T to transform, and you're going to decide where you want the background, like where you would like the double exposure to happen. I actually quite like when there is focus on the eyes. Maybe I might flip this horizontally. That might be. And remember, you're going to be taking a mask of this, so it doesn't matter if what it covers doesn't show. It doesn't show everything. Because I really like having something light around the eyes to bring attention to them. It just has a nice effect, I've found. But this is my personal preference. You guys can do whatever you want. People like mountains, they like skies. It's whatever. All right, so I'm going for a little bit of like a gem look for any of you 80s kids. All right, so once I feel good with that, I'm gonna hit enter to make sure I set it and turn my opacity back up. And now I'm gonna be making a mask of the background over my portrait. So I'm on my background layer. I'm gonna click the command button and my portrait, and over here it's created that mask. So you're gonna go down and add that layer mask right there. And there it is. So it's looking pretty good right now. The next step you have to do is go back to your portrait copy here, your background copy, and you're going to be making a copy of that and bringing it on top of all of the layers. So Command J, bring it on top of the layers, and then now you're going to be desaturating this. So to desaturate is really simple. You just go to Image, Adjustments, Desaturate, or you could do Shift Command U. And we will go to our blending modes and choose Multiply. Lots of students have different preferences of what they like to do, so you guys decide what you feel works best. Next, now we're going to add, now we're going to add a layer mask onto this background copy. So add it on in, and remember with your layer mask, if your mask is white, you want the color to be black. Get a paintbrush, and I like to get a paintbrush that's large with soft edges, and I turn down the opacity a little bit. And so you start erasing what you don't want. And remember, the good thing about the mask is that it gives you that freedom to bring in and take out what you want. All right, so right now I really like how this is looking right now. All right, perfect. So go ahead and choose that. And what I would suggest next is going ahead, and some people like that white background, but I actually like to add a bit of color to my background and doing a nice vignette effect. So to choose a color that would complement that background, because remember we had that color fill, you're going to pick the eyedropper tool just by the letter I, it's this right here, and click back onto your portrait and start pointing around what you think might be a really nice color to do. So I like this one here. And up in my color panel, you want to brighten it So this is actually quite nice. And that color here is what you're going to color your color fill. I mean, your color fill layer. So I'll just take a shot of that. And then you're going to bring in another copy of your landscape. So just drop in my galaxy wallpaper again. And this time it doesn't matter whether or not you need to stretch it out because you're going to see the effect that's going to happen. Make sure you bring it to the top. And we're going to give it a nice blur effect. So you go to filter, Gaussian blur, and I'm going to filter it to about the pixel about 250 pixels. That's what I like to do. So I'm going to hit OK. And we'll add in another mask to that. It's a lot of masks in this assignment. And I'm going to start taking away what around my face. So you can see here, this is actually looking quite nice. And if you want to have, it's like that nice halo effect. I think it's a little bit too harsh, so then what I do is, I want to make sure to turn this up to 100. I want to make sure I get everything. I just noticed I had that problem. All right. And then I turned this down a little bit more for the edges, so it's not so harsh. Just a little bit of a different blur, so it's brighter around my face. So that's the effect I like, but very much like you guys can bring back a bit and see what you like. It's all everybody's personal preference. That's the beauty of Photoshop. So bounce back and forth with what you like. Now, I find personally that I like to play a bit with the picture now, the layers, how it's all looking. I think that my face is a little bit too, I want to see my eyes more and define them more. There are several different things you can try to do. It's all an experiment. But the easiest way to make those adjustments specifically to your face is just to select your portrait that you've already, it's portrait layer by command click, and it selects it. And then now experiment up here with the different kinds of adjustments. I mean, naturally, a very easy one to start off with is like the brightness. So I'm just going to brighten up my face here, but you don't want to go and do it too far because it sometimes can be quite jarring or shocking. Or you could do contrast. So brightness is when you can start off with a little bit more of an advanced one, or not advanced, but just more details would be, I believe it is levels people like to mess around a bit with. You can just adjust with what you see fit. So this is all a personal preference. Remember, you are the artist, and so you can decide what works best. But right now, I'm feeling pretty happy with this. And do you remember when I talked about how it's nice when you have a light area around the eyes because it really draws attention to it? It creates a nice effect. Once you're really happy with your work, guys, you're going to go ahead, and it's very simple to save. You just go File, Export as a quick PNG, and you're going to title it Double Exposure, excuse me. And then you're going to just title with your first letter and then your last name. You guys know what I mean. Once you've saved that, you're going to go ahead and turn it in onto Google Classroom. The assignment's already on there. You'll just drop in the picture. I can't wait to see what you guys create. Bye.